This is the chapter name. It is of grade 6 subject science, and the chapter name is food from where does it come from. So before moving to this session, I have some instruction for all of you. So the instruction is this one. You will be seeing 3 buttons at the bottom. The first button you are seeing here is question and answer. So it's for you. You are free to ask your question at any time. But remember, you can ask question only by typing. No need to ask your question through your voice. If you type your question, I will get all the question. I will answer at the end of the session. So you can ask your question any time between the session while typing, but your questions will be addressed only at the end of the session. The second button you are seeing here, this one, this is a raise hand button. Raise hand, this one I'm talking about. So this raise hand button, if I ask you whether you have understood the topic or not, or if you have not understood or something, many types of question can be asked by me whether you are hearing my voice or not. So you have to just raise your hand. I will get my your positive response. And the third button you are seeing here, leave webinar. So this is the last option. If I say to you that you can leave your webinar, the session is over, or you have first say, then you have to leave your webinar. So these 2 buttons are very important, this one and this one, because you have to be more concentrate about this. You are not supposed to ask a question or say anything between the session. Only you can type your question. So moving to the next slide. So this is the sessions overview. This is for class 6. And subject is science, and it is chapter 1. It is chapter 1, food from where does it come from. Types of questions. Coming to the weightage first of all. So their weightage may differ from school to school, may differ from teachers to teachers. But from this chapter, you may be asked 3 types of question. Multiple choice. It may include objective, fill in the blanks, or matching. Short answer type questions can be asked, and long answer type questions can be asked. And I am your mentor, Mohammed Tawqir. So let's go through with this session. I am trying to help you so that you will be able to understand about the topic. We are taking food. Food is very necessary for our life. But sometimes question comes from where these foods comes from. So it's very wondering question that everyone has in its mind, that we are eating pulse, we are drinking milk. So what is the source of this? So in this chapter, we are dealing with all the sources of foods. Mainly we are dealing with all the sources of food. So first of all, let's see the plan of this session. So this is the plan. First of all, I will introduce the chapter. Then I will tell about what are the sources of food, then about the producer, consumer, and decomposers, then plants as a source of food, then foods for the plants, what are the foods for plants like fruit, vegetable, and fiber, then sources of food from animals. Then I will be discussing Indian food, that's everyone is very much conscious about this topic. So now at last I will be handling summary and then question answer. So these are the things we are going to deal with this in this session. And in the mid of the session, you are free to ask a question. In the mid of the session, you are free to ask the question, but remember, you have to type only. So let's move. This is introduction. I would rather say, do you imagine yourself without any food? I think no. Many you have seen that many babas has taken samadhi. They never take food. And day by day, their energy is getting reduced. So why? It means for the energy, for getting energy, the foods are required. And energy is very much required for our life. A dead person, a dead organism has zero energy. Remember, a dead organism has zero energy. That's why it is dead. If human is not dead, it means it is having energy. It can walk, it can run, it can speak, it can do anything. But if he's dead, he can do nothing. He will do nothing. That's why If food is very necessary, food is necessary for to live. It's important. Next, food is the source of energy that I am explaining here. That if you take food, it provides energy, and energy is required by all living organisms to survive. So this is very important, that food is the source of energy. Food provides energy to our body, and it is required for our survival. Foods provide energy to our body and provides nutrients that we need to grow, move, work, play, think, and learn. All are the activities that we do. I think daily we do. We used to grow. Our cell division is happening. Next, we are moving, we are working, we are playing, we are thinking, we are learning something. Like this session, you are learning something. So why are you able to learn? Why are you able to sit in front of your computer or laptop? Why? Because food is required for energy, and this energy is used for doing many things, many activities. And apart from these activities, food also provide nutrients may be proteins, vitamins. These nutrients may be proteins, like it is provided, proteins are present in milk, then vitamins, many fruits. So these are present in the food. So these, from where you get protein and vitamin? From the food. So this is all about the introduction of this chapter. Now let's move to the topic, sources of food. You know, food is essential. I have explained in previous slide. I explained you in previous slide why food is essential. Question can be asked in your examination, or your teachers may be asked in your class. Sometimes teachers will ask you to stand up and say why food is essential. So that's simple answer. Food is essential because it provides energy and nutrients to our body. Due to this, we do all activities like growing, playing, working, learning, everything. Whatever the activity you can imagine, whatever the activity you can imagine, you are able to perform those activities due to the presence of energy and nutrients. And energy and nutrients are provided by food. That's why food is very essential. So I am writing here, food is essential because it provides energy and nutrients. So I hope this point is clear to everyone, that we are taking food for energy and nutrients. This point is clear for everyone. Moving to the next point. Each living thing has a different way of deriving nutrients. Now, this is very important. We derive nutrients from where? We can eat vegetable, we can eat meat, even we can drink, we can cook the food. So the derivation of nutrients from different sources of food is different and varies from organism to organism. So the first type of organism is producers. See, producer comes from production. It comes from production. So the organism which makes their food by their own, then it is known as plants. See, there's a different. I am taking here cooking. We say that my mom, meri maa khana paka rahi hai. Like this we say, my mom is cooking food. For English, it is a cooking food, but in Hindi we used to say meri maa khana bana rahi hai. So it is different. Just take the sense of this sentence, that my mom is cooking food which has been taken from another source. We are making them delicious. That's it. We are making them delicious in the kitchen. That's it. We add some spices, some salts, turmeric, lots of things to make them delicious. So that is the difference between production and cooking. In cooking, we make the food delicious. We make the food eatable so that it can be digested by our digestive system. But producers are those they make their food by their own. They no need to take food from anywhere. So the examples are plant. Examples are plants. Plants make food through photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. In later slides, we will be discussing in detail. Next comes to consumers. So consumers, they derive nutrition from other organisms like us, we human being, animals. We buy vegetables from the market. So vegetable comes from plants. We buy meat, chicken from the market. This comes from another animal. So these animals cannot produce food in their body. That's why they are dependent on other organisms. So these are known as consumers. So I hope it is clear. It is clear. Producers are those which makes their food by own. They can make their food by own inside their body. Like plants forms carbohydrate in their body. I will discuss in later slide as well. Consumers are those organisms which depends on other organism for food. We are human being, animals mostly, and most of the animals are consumer. Now decomposers. Decomposers are also known as saprophytes. So you have to remember this thing, that decomposers are also known as saprophytes. They derive nutrients from dead and decayed matters like bacteria, fungus. In fungus, you have seen mushroom. It is an edible fungus, but it is a saprophytic fungus. It is a decomposer. They derive food from the decaying organism or dead matter. So these are known as decomposers. Next, parasites. Parasite is very interesting term, and we always fight with parasite. Parasites may be plant or animal. They live on or inside the living organism to get the food, and they cause harm also to their host. For example, I am telling you, for example, let's take the example of worms. There are many worms present in our intestine, especially in babies intestine. There are many worms are present. We used to say that पेट में कीड़े पड़ गए हैं. So these worms are present in the intestine. These worms derive their food from us, and in the same way they cause harm to us also. That's why these worms are parasites. These worms are parasites. Another thing, mosquito. Take a mosquito. Mosquito bites and takes our blood. So it is dependent on our blood. And parallelly, the biting of mosquito cause malaria into us. So it provides, we are the host of mosquito, and mosquito is causing harm to us, is harming us. That's why mosquito is also placed under parasite. So I hope the sources of food slide is very much clear to all of you. I am revising this slide once again because it is very important, and there are 4 terminologies I have mentioned here that you have to remember, because it may be asked in 1 marks question, in the fill in the blanks, and in the matching questions. So producer, they make their food by their own. Like example, plants. For their example, photosynthesis. Next, consumer. Consumer, they derive nutrition from other organisms like animals. We are human beings, also a consumer. Decomposers, also known as saprophytes, they derive food from the decaying and dead matter. Examples, bacteria and fungus. Next, parasites. Some plants or animals live on or inside the living organism to get the food. They cause harm to their host and are called parasites. So they also, you have to remember this thing also. So these four definition and their examples are very important. So this is all about sources of food. So let's move to the next slide. These are the some pictures I have included so that you will be able to learn the examples of producer, consumer, and decomposer. I will explain for you also. See, they are producer. In producer, I have shown all types of plants. Mostly plants are there. So because plants derive their food from their own. So remember, P for plant. It means plants are producer. Next, C for consumers. Consumers almost all things like lion, bee, tiger, whale, turtle, everyone is consumer. Now decomposers, which lives in D for dead matter. Decomposer derive food from dead matter. D for dead matter, remember. And example, mushroom, bacteria, like this. So these are the example of sources of food. Now let's discuss one by one. Producer. I have explained you in deeply that producer make their food by their own. Now plant, I have given you example of plant, that plant forms their food like glucose with carbon dioxide and water in the presence of chlorophyll using solar energy. Solar energy means sunlight. Sunlight is coming from sun and it is having energy. That's why we used to say in scientific terminology as solar energy. This process is called as photosynthesis. Like means carbon dioxide plus water forms glucose, and also oxygen is also removed here. And this process is done in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So this equation you must remember, that carbon dioxide and water reacts inside the plant in presence of chlorophyll and sunlight to form glucose and oxygen. Glucose is a food. That, see, glucose is formed inside the body of the plant. Plant makes their food by its own. So it is producer. Oxygen is the byproduct in this chemical process. That is the reason oxygen is always present in the world. So this may be a loss, or this may be, you can say, this may be the demerit of deforestation, means cutting the forest, that if you cut lots of trees, then oxygen will not be produced. Then day by day of the percentage of oxygen in earth environment will be reduced. That's why it is very important to have tree around us. So that's very important to have tree around us, because trees produce oxygen and we are dependent on oxygen. If there's no oxygen, how can we survive? How can we breathe? How can we respire? So oxygen is very necessary. So make sure if someone asks you what is the demerit or what is the main demerit of cutting forest or deforestation, then you have to say that if we cut the forest, then oxygen will not be produced by plant and it will be decreasing day by day, and finally it will be ended up. So you have to remember. Next, food is stored as a starch in leaves. So starch is the polymer of carbohydrate. It is a polymer of carbohydrate. What is polymer? Polymer means small carbohydrates are joined with each other to form a big molecule. Means small carbohydrates joined to form large molecule. So this is known as polymer. That's why in starch is a large molecule. It is having high molecular mass also. Here in very small units of carbohydrates joins with each other to form a big molecule. So in the form of a starch, food is stored in the plant. So in this slide, you have to remember this thing, the equation also that I have written here, that plants make their food, that is glucose, from carbon dioxide and water in presence of chlorophyll and solar energy. Oxygen is the byproduct, and I have explained one reason also, okay, that what is the demerit of deforestation. Then you will say that if we cut forest lots a lot, then oxygen will be reduced day by day. Next, food is stored in the as a starch in the leaves. So this is very important question, and it may be asked in your objective multiple choice question or fill in the blanks. So I hope this slide is clear about the producer. Now again I am telling you, I have discussed four very important points: producer, consumer, decomposers, and parasites. Now I have discussed producers in detail. These are the points you have to remember, especially if someone asks you in which form food is stored in plant. In the form of starch. Where it is stored? In the leaves of the plant. Now consumers. As in the previous slide, I have told you consumers are depend on plants or other animals to derive the food. Consumers are those animal depends on plant or other animals to derive the food. Animal, and now the consumers are derived into three parts. First one is herbivores. Herbivores are those which eat plants. Animals which eat plants are known as herbivores. Like elephant used to eat grasses, so it is herbivores. Goat, it is a herbivores, because you cannot feed goat with a chicken. It will not, goat will not eat that one, because goat is eating only grasses, so it is herbivores. Now animals that eat only animals are known as carnivores, like lion. Here I am giving some examples also. Herbivores examples: goat, deer, elephant. Carnivores are lions, tigers, dog. These are the example of carnivores. Now omnivores are those elements which eat both plants and animals. They are omnivores. So it's very clear example of omnivores. Human. We eat meat also and vegetable. Next, in omnivores, you can take the example of bear also. Bear also is a example of omnivore. Bear can eat flesh as well as grass. So the consumers which derive their food from plants or other animals are known as consumers. There are three types of consumer. First one is herbivores, which that eat plants like goat, deer, elephant. There are many other animals also. Second, carnivores, which derive food from only animals like lions, tigers, dogs, and others. Also leopard also. And next, omnivores is the third one, which derive food from animal as well as plants like human, bear, and many other things. So these three terms are very important. These three terms are very important, and questions can be asked in these three terms. Now moving to the next slide, herbivores. Now we are in consumers topic. Still we are in consumer topics. Now in consumer we are dealing with herbivores. I have told you that herbivores that eat plants, so they have well developed molars and premolars. Molar and premolar teeth are present at the back of our jaw. Molars and premolars are present at the back. Suppose I am drawing a figure of our mouth space. See, I have opened the mouth. So molars and premolars are present here at the back of the jaw. Here you will find, and here you will find molar and premolar teeth. So the teeth that are present at the back of the jaw, these molar and premolar teeth helps us in chewing the food. So the herbivores have well developed molars and premolars for grinding and chewing the plants. White-tailed deer, goat has molar with flat upper surface. Their molar teeth is having flat surface, which helps them chew for the chewing. Next, cows. This is important point. Cow have a ability to store semi-digested food. They store semi-digested food in the part of stomach, and when it is required, they take that part, that semi-digested food into their mouth and start chewing. That's why you have always seen buffaloes and cows, they are always moving their jaw like this, like this. They always move their jaw. Why? Because they have some semi-digested food in one specialized part of their stomach, and when it is needed, they take that semi-digested food into their mouth and starts chewing. So this is very important for this. So in this slide, you must remember that herbivores are those which feeds on only plants. They have very well developed and molars and premolar teeth. Someone can be question can be asked, but why herbivores are having well developed molar and premolar teeth? I told you they are present at the back of the jaw. These teeth helps us in chewing. So because they are herbivores, so it is very much required. So it is well developed. And for the cow, they have they store their semi-digested food in specialized part of their stomach, and when it is needed, they take that semi-digested food into their mouth and start chewing. So this is very important, and this may be important also because questions can be asked. Now coming to the carnivores, so this is another type of consumers. These carnivores can derive food only from the plants, and they have very sharp and pointed, that is canines and incisors. Like canines and incisors are present, you may be seeing here, again I am drawing. In your open mouth, here you may see some pointed teeth. Two teeth in upper jaw and two teeth in lower jaw. These teeth are canines and incisors. So in these canines and incisor teeth are used to kill the animals and tear the flesh. So it is very pointed. That's why these are carnivores. So God has given some special characteristics to all the consumers. If it is herbivores, their premolar and molar teeth is developed. If they are carnivores, their canines and incisors are well developed. Canine is used to kill the animals. Canine is used to kill the animals. In many videos, you have seen that a lion is grabbing the neck like this. Why? While grabbing the neck, they just insert their canine into the neck to kill the animal, and they use the same teeth to tear the flesh. Some birds are also carnivores, like vultures. Some birds are like, examples are vultures. Vultures are also carnivores. So they have well developed claw. They have very well developed claw, pointed toes, and sharp and pointed beaks to grab and stab the flesh of their prey. So this is all about carnivores. So carnivores are those which derive food from animals. Why they are able to derive food from the animals? Because their incisor and canines are well developed. They use these teeth to kill the animals and to tear the flesh. And for the birds like vulture, they have very well developed claw, pointed and sharp toes, pointed beak to grab and to stab the flesh of their prey. So this is all about carnivores. You have to remember here this point that I have already make it bold. This is important point. And last point is also, you remember this point. So this is all about carnivores. This is all about carnivores. Now let's move to the next slide. Omnivores. Omnivores are simple, that take food from plant as well as animals. So like grizzly bears, I have already given the examples that bears also omnivores. Human, some birds like crow are omnivores. Crow can eat flesh as well as herbs. So these are known as omnivores. They survive in many environments. So there's no difficulty to survive. There's no difficulty to omnivores to survive. Herbivores only they are found in those parts where grasses are available. Carnivores are present only those parts where animals are available, but omnivores are present everywhere. They are easy. If there is no animal, they will be surviving on plants. If there is no plant, they will be surviving on animals. So they have very well developed all the tooth. Here they have well developed front teeth to rip into the meat like this. This is the front teeth. See, this is used to cut, like we used to cut biscuit. So this is used to rip into meat and bite into fruits, and we used to bite. If we eat apple, we used to bite. For biting, we use this front teeth. And molars help them to grind and chew their food. So this is all about omnivores. I am again revising that producers produce food. Okay. Now consumer, they consume food. Herbivores, they can take food only from plants. Carnivores, they food from animals. They are incisor and canine is well developed, and for herbivores, premolar and molar are well developed. Omnivores, they derive food from animals as well as plants, and their front teeth is very well developed. Molar is also well developed. Now coming to the last part, decomposers. Now we have studied producers and consumers. Now coming to the decomposers. This is the third part. Already you know that. I have explained you in the previous slide that decomposers are those organisms which derive their food and nutrients from bacteria and fungus. They eat decaying matter such as plant and animal. They release nutrients and minerals. The important point is there. That's why mostly decomposers are very useful for the ecosystem. They are very useful for ecosystem. In agriculture, they are useful because they release nutrients and minerals back to the soil, which are used by plants. So helpful in agriculture. Helpful in agriculture. So this is all about producer, consumer, and decomposer. You have to remember in this slide for omnivores, this is the important point. And for decomposer, this one is an important point, and this one is also an important point. Question can be asked why decomposers are very useful for agriculture, industry, or ecosystem. Then you have to say that they release nutrients and minerals back to the soil that is used by plants. Now let's do some exercise. Let's do some exercise. What is the role of producer? You know everything. Producer produces food. Produces. That's it. The living world is grouped into producer, consumer, and decomposer. Producer, consumer, and decomposer. Group these two according to their source of nutrition. So this mushroom is a decomposer. Cow is a herbivores. You know, for cow, I have told you one important point that they can store their semi-digested food in the specialized part of stomach, and when it is needed, they take back that part into their mouth and start chewing again. Sheep is also herbivore, and wolf is a. So I hope these questions are clear. These are very important questions, and such type of questions can be asked also. Such type of questions can be asked also. So let's move to the another slide. Plants as a source of food. So for plants as a source of food, you must remember that there are three parts of plant that are used as a source of food: root, stem, and seed. So you have to remember what are the three important parts of plant that can be used as a source of food. So you have to say root, stem, and seed. And I used to say leaves also. Leaves also, but in book it is not mentioned. That's why I'm not saying. But leaves are also, because we used to eat spinach. We used to eat spinach. Plants as a source of food. Let's go with root. In some plant, roots or parts of root system store large quantities of starch and other carbohydrates, like sweet potato, carrot, turmeric, dahlia are example of plant whose roots are sources of food. See the picture. So in these plants, we used to consume what part of plant? Root, because in the root food are present in the form of starch. So this you have to remember. In the roots, foods are present in the form of starch. So we use food. So generally wherever starch is present, we use only that part. So here starch is present in root, so we consume root. Example, you have to mention sweet potato. Remember sweet potato, carrot, turmeric, and dahlia. So you have to remember this part, and this is an important point you have to remember. Now moving to the next slide, stem. Sugarcane is very important example. They store carbohydrate and starch in their stem. So example is even potato, the aloo. Potato that we use to eat is a stem. Don't we get confused. It doesn't look like a stem, but potato is a stem. Just always remember, many times questions are asked, what is potato? Potato is a stem. What we eat, stem. And sugarcane, they contain carbohydrate and starch in their stem. Now coming to the seed. So seed is some plants are the good sources of energy. And what human consume, it is the majority. Generally we consume seeds. Like in cereals we use maize, wheat and rice. In legumes we eat beans, pulses and peas and nuts. So these we generally consume in daily. So these are seeds. Seed of a sunflower and rapeseed are used for producing rich oil. So this is important. All these points, 4 points are very important. All these 4 points are important, and you have to remember for the seeds. And one important point in this point, that you have to remember what is cereal, what is legume, what is nuts. So cereals are maize, wheat and rice. I have given all the example in a bracket. Legumes, beans, pulses and peas, and nuts. Seeds of sunflower and rapeseed are used to producing rich oil. So this is important. So in this slide, you have to remember this example of stem. This is important. And these all 4 points of seeds are very important. So I hope everything is clear. If you have any question, you can type your question as a chat box. I will be addressing all the question at the end of the session. So let's move to another slide. Foods for plants. Where plants store their food for their future. We used to store our money in the bank for our future generation. We used to store money in the bank for the future of our study, for future of generation. So plants store food in seed for baby plant. They store their food in seed for baby plant. They derive food from seed until they can make their own food. In seed, food is stored in seed leaves. The seed leaves are known as cotyledons. This is important, very important. What is the term we use for seed leaves? Cotyledon. The growth of baby plant is called as germination. A young plant growing is called a seedling. So the young plant, we just sow the seed in the soil. Then this seed, the cotyledon part of the seed, contains energy. Just remember this thing. The cotyledon, which is seed leaves, contains energy, and from this seedling, the first small plant derives its energy. So let's see the just germination of seed. Let's see this. See how it is germinating. See how it is germinating from plant, and then now it is able to, when leaves are there, now it is able to derive its food. Now it is not dependent on seed. So in this slide, you must remember this point important. This terminology is important, and this one is important. So I hope food for plants is clear. Now moving to the another plant things, fruits. We used to consume fruit. Fruits have seed, like guava is having seed. Food is significant part of diet of many living things. So I hope it is very clear. No need to go too deep. We used to consume food. Why? Because it is having many minerals, vitamins, nutrients. Vegetables also we consume daily to day life. It includes root vegetables like radish and carrot. In root system, I have explained leaf vegetable, spinach and lettuce, stem vegetables, and inflorescence of flower vegetable like broccoli. So you have to remember, this is important, that in broccoli what we consume, flower. In spinach and lettuce we consume leaf. In radish carrot we consume root. Fibers are in digested part. Dietary fibers present in cereals, fruit and vegetables, and they remain indigested, remain unchanged till our intestine. See, it is written, it is important point also. It is made up of indigested part of plant. It passes through stomach and intestine without any change and helps our digestive system healthy. So this is very important. So in this slide, you have to remember the significance of fruit, then vegetables. Root is consumed for radish and carrot. Spinach, lettuce, leaf is consumed, and in broccoli, flower vegetables are consumed. Fibers remain unchanged and passes through stomach and intestine, and it makes our digestive system healthy. And fibers are present in cereals, fruits, and many vegetables. So moving to the next, sources of food from animals. Meat. We used to buy meat from poultry farm, poultry, birds, fishes, goats, sheep. Some sea creatures as shrimps, prawns, and crabs. These are comes under meat. So just remember the example. Remember only examples. Remembers examples only. Now milk, sheep, buffaloes, cows, goats. From milk we used to take drink milk from these. Milk can be drunk or used for, can be drunk for and used to prepare cheese or butter and other, you can say that also, curd. Next, egg is rich in protein and vitamins. It is important what is present in egg. You have to say that it is proteins and vitamin. Honey, bees collect nectar from the flower and then they make honey from it. They store honey in their hives. It is important. It is also important. It is also important. It is rich source of carbohydrate. It contains sucrose, lactose, waters, and minerals. So all these 3 points of honeys are important. So this is all about sources of food from animals. So I hope this is clear. I have mentioned very important points, but I request you to go through all the points. These are very important points. Now moving to the next slide, Indian food. You have seen that Indian food varies from region to region. In North India, we prefer generally chapatis. In South India, we prefer rice. And if you go to the in East India, you will be preferring noodles. So there are different types of and momos also. That's very important street food. So you will find that region to region, this Indian food varies. Why? Because our food is deeply influenced by our religion and social identity. Like Jain community do not eat foods that grow inside the ground or below the ground. So they don't eat those foods because they think that it will be harmful for the living things. So our Indian food is deeply influenced by religion and social identity. Next, there are 4 categories: North Indian, South Indian, East Indian, and West Indian. Use of spices are common features on all foods. Why we use cooked food? We have explained. I have explained in previous slides that we uh, cook food for making it delicious. So spices were used: rye seed, cumin, which is known as jeera, fenugreek, which is known as methi, and we used to use garlic, which is known as lasan. And we have to remember the staple food is rice. The staple food of India is rice, wheat, and varieties of pulses like masoor dal, chana dal, tuar dal, and urad dal. So these are things about Indian food. You will be able to write a lot of things that question can be asked. Write something about Indian food. So varieties of questions can be asked here. So just go through all these point. Just go through all this point and think about your Indian food. And I suggest you always think about your kitchen. Think inside the kitchen what is happening, why you cook food. So you will be able to write. And you travel. I know that we used to travel here and there. We used to find different type of foods. Even in one state, you will be finding different types of. In one district you will be finding different type of food, so you will be able to explain because these foods are having different taste due to the use of different spices. So summary: all living organisms need food for living. No producers derive food by their own, like plants from photosynthesis they form glucose. Consumers, they derive food from their other organisms. They may be herbivores, carnivores, or omnivores. Decomposers, known as saprophytes, they derive nutrients from dead or decaying matter. It is very useful for agriculture because they release nutrients and minerals to the in the soil, which is taken back by the plants. Parasites, they live on or inside the body of animal and they derive food from there, but they also harm their host, like mosquito and many bacterial attack or viral attack that happen nowadays. Animals may be carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores. So let's handle your questions. I'm ready to be shooted by your questions. So I'm going to stop this share and moving to handle your questions. So I found no questions. I hope this topic is clear for all of you. So Thank you all for joining. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in your online portal. Everything is there. There's very deep in your online portal. You can type your question and your questions will be answered. So thank you all for joining.